Hello, my name is Michael McGee. Here's my speech outline, and let's begin. So, are you excited to pay for an education the way you are for a brand new car? For most people, that answer is no. The biggest issue facing our generation is the shortcomings and problems within the U.S. education system. Learning about the problems of the U.S. education system can help us make better decisions on job choices, voting in elections, and choice of education. After conducting some thorough research on the topic, I feel I'm knowledgeable and credible on the topic of discussion and can provide you with some interesting information. The main reasons the educational system is the biggest issue facing our generation is the quality, costs, and discrimination. First, let's talk about the discussing issues of education within the United States. In our society, the education system fails us by making a low-quality education highly costly and unequally distributed. The problem here is that whether you're a college student piled on by student debt or an African-American preteen in an unequally funded middle school, the U.S. education just simply does not live up to what it could and should be. So firstly, the U.S. trails behind almost every developed country in the world when it comes to access to high-quality preschool. Next, the total student debt in the United States is actually $1.68 trillion, and the 42.3 million Americans with federal student loans each owe an average of $36,520 for their federal loan. Lastly, we find that a large performance gap exists between children in the lowest and highest socioeconomic status. Quantities in these gaps have persisted from the 1998 to 2010. This would show that the rate has been consistent through a long period of time, meaning that these problems are not getting addressed. What this means is that even through a large period of time, well over a decade, the U.S. system has failed to provide a fair level of education learning to low-income families and their children. Overall, this is a problem for all kinds of people. Seeing how poorly we rank amongst developed countries in our entry-level schooling can explain a lot of reasons and why we lack in quality, especially since preschool is such an important part of early-stage development within humans. Seeing the vast level of debts among students across the country shows the importance it is to make education affordable for the average American student. This is why it is important that the main reasons the Black community struggles to reach equality is from its low quality of learning. Poor funding has created a performance gap between poor groups, which also tend to hurt minorities the most. Now that we understand the problems within the educational system, so what can we do to fix it? Solutions. To fix the educational mess, we must increase funding towards the educational system and more effectively manage where that money is being spent. See, it's not as simple as just funding. To see how these solutions would work, let's look at the U.S. neighbor Canada's educational system, for example. In an article by Newsroom in 2020, Canada has taken steps to encourage all social classes to enter the educational system, providing free education up to the university level. Some opponents of the solution suggest funding for such necessary costs as unrealistic and not accomplishable. But if we look at the numbers, increasing the overall tax rate by just 10 percentage points would generate roughly $3 trillion in revenue over the next 10 years. This would be able to have free college for all public universities and money left over. And this money can be spent to increasing support in preschool and poorly funded K through 12 across the country. Now that we see exactly how these proposed solutions would effectively fix the educational system, let's look at what this would do for our future. If solutions in funding and management were executed, a lot of great things could come to society that would affect everyone in the community. For example, better equal funding to lower income communities can allow for these schools to have resources to better educate those students. This can help in economic and racial issues and disparities between blacks and whites in the society. Providing relief to student debt can also help younger, eager adults advance their careers and start their life on a fair playing field instead of digging from behind in piles of debt. Finally, improving the quality of education will result in larger desire of transfers from other countries as we rank higher in global comparison. This will lead to cultural expansion and technological innovation amongst new transfers. If we instead choose to continue the path, we will find continual trends as we see today. A growing student debt, and racial and economic disparities, and failure to provide children with what they need. We must make the changes now to make the future a smarter and fairer place. This can seem like too big of an issue to tackle, but I promise you it's not. Our generation's biggest problem is the shortcomings and failures of the U.S. educational system. Its failures to provide a high quality and cheap education to all Americans can be to blame for many of social and economic issues that face this country today. I am calling on all of you, by further educating yourself, on organizations and politicians who look to solve these issues. Go call a local representative to express your concerns. Volunteer and work with different campaigns, and protesting is a great way to spread the message and make awareness. It is important that we act in the issues of public education among societies. Personally, I have volunteered for campaigns, attended peaceful protests, and went out to place my votes for candidates who wanted to fix the issue. To conclude, we must all take this problem serious and remember how bright the future can be for all of us if we work together on these solutions. Let's take the action now so the next generation isn't in our shoes. I want to thank everyone in this class and thank you all for your time. My name is Michael McGee. Mr. Tyndall, thank you for this environment. It's been wonderful. All of you have a great day.